You're about to learn something most men will never hear in their lifetime. Not from their fathers, not from their friends, not even from the loudest voices online. You've been taught to chase, to persuade, to prove. You've been trained to fill silences with jokes, to overshare to look interesting, to talk yourself into her interest instead of letting it breathe and expand on its own. That program turns desire into noise. The truth is quieter, sharper, more precise. Sexual tension isn't an accident, and it isn't luck. It's engineered, calibrated in the space between your words, in the angles of your body, in the timing of your attention and your withdrawal. It's not about tricks, it's about triggers. Subtle, forbidden levers that flip the polarity inside her so she stops evaluating you and starts feeling you. After today, you won't look at conversation the same way. You won't fear the silence. You won't explain yourself into smaller and smaller boxes. You'll learn to create the kind of pressure that makes her consciously composed but privately curious, that makes her legs cross, her breath shift, and her plans suddenly become flexible. Not because you're forcing anything, but because you're leading everything. Yourself first, then the moment, then her. If you keep listening, you'll start to recognize how to build heat without begging for it, how to make her chase the answer, the meaning, the next touch. You'll stop acting like a guest in your own presence. You'll start owning the room you're already standing in. Let's strip this down to the bone. Attraction isn't a debate, it's a sequence. You cue the nervous system, and the mind justifies whatever the body decides. She won't tell you that out loud, but you'll see it in her pupils, and you'll hear it in the way she stretches the last vowel of a word when she's not ready to stop speaking to you. This is the leverage you've been missing. 9 forbidden triggers that ignite sexual tension. Forbidden because they're quiet, because they feel like the things you're not supposed to do. Hold a pause a beat longer than polite. Make your eye contact triangular instead of direct. Treat attention like a gift instead of a tax. Touch with intention instead of accident. You don't need to become someone else. You need to turn off the noise that hides who you are, and you need to move like a man who understands that escalation isn't a sprint. It's a staircase with deliberate steps, each one opening the next. The first trigger is the pause. Not silence as absence, but silence as a pressure gradient. When you speak, you end your sentence and you don't rush to rescue the air. You let space sit between your last word and your next expression, like the final note of a song that makes the audience lean forward. You let her finish her thought, and you hold eye contact through the last 2 words. Then you breathe in slowly through the nose and let it go, unhurried from the mouth. Your breathing sets the tempo. If you breathe shallow and fast, she speeds up and the conversation becomes transactional. If you breathe deep and slow, she unconsciously follows, and now you've changed the music. In that pause, you're telling her 2 things. 1, you're not afraid of her response. 2, you're giving her room to invest. Women often fill the space a man leaves, not because they're over-talking, but because nature hates a vacuum and attraction hates a monologue. Real tension needs a gap. So you create it, not by being cold, but by being controlled. Try this. Ask a simple, high-signal question. What do you want less of this month? And after she answers, just hold. No nodding circus, no rapid-fire follow-up. Watch the micro-expression that flickers when she realizes you're a man who can sit with what she just gave you. That micro-flinch is the lock catching on the door to intimacy. The second trigger is triangulated eye contact. Direct eye contact can be confrontational. Breaking eye contact at the wrong moment can read as weak. The calibration is to trace a slow triangle. One eye, the other eye, the mouth, then back to the eyes. You're not leering. You're marking points of attention that signal consideration, desire, restraint. It's a subtle path for her mirror neurons to track. He saw me. He heard me. He imagined kissing me, but he didn't lunge. The triangle makes her wonder what held you back, which flips her into pursuit. It's not performed, it's paced. You run the triangle during key beats, when she shares something slightly vulnerable, when she asks what you do, and the answer would be boring if you gave it like a resume. When you deliver a teasing line that needs a soft landing. The triangle is a conversation within the conversation. If she leans in, you slow the path. If she leans back, you shrink the triangle and sit back as well, relaxing your jaw, letting your shoulders drop, signaling that you're unthreatened and unthreatening. Tension comes from perceived choice. You always move like a man choosing, never chasing. The third trigger is the slow withdrawal. Most men spray attention like a broken faucet, constant, noisy, hard to turn off. Attention loses value when it's free. To create tension, you treat attention like a currency. Invest, then stop investing. You don't punish with withdrawal. You punctuate. You ask about the little tattoo on her wrist, and you watch her eyes spark when she tells the story. Then, at the high point, you divert your body angle 5 degrees away. Let your gaze drift to the room for a beat as if you're tracking your environment. Then you return to her with a half smile. She'll feel the shift the way you feel a draft under a door. Do it once, and it's a glitch. Do it with rhythm, and it's a dance. The slow withdrawal is powerful because it removes what you just gave, your full focus, and the body seeks to close that gap. This is not coldness, it's scarcity. You are training her nervous system to register that your presence is a sensation she wants to re-enter. Practical move. When she finishes a story, don't reward it instantly. Let a heartbeat pass. Sip your drink. Then land a grounded, specific response. You didn't just move cities, you burned a map. The lag sharpens the blade. The fourth trigger is friction, playful challenge that polarizes just enough to create heat. Smooth is comfortable, but desire lives in edges. You want a tone that says, I like you, but I'm not lost in you. You challenge her softly, not with intellectual arm wrestling, but with perspective. If she says she always picks the wrong guys, you don't nod and ask why. You tilt your head and say, no, you pick the exact guy that matches your current standards. Then you watch. If she bristles, you soften. It's not judgment. Standards are elastic. Upgrade them. Upgrade the feed. If she laughs, you escalate. I've got a feeling your standards just ticked up one notch and I'm on probation. The key is calibrated polarity. Push, then cushion. Tease, then affirm. The push introduces uncertainty. The cushion keeps it safe. Friction also lives in micro-boundaries. If she interrupts consistently, you smile with your eyes and say, hold that, I want to finish this thought, then finish it. That boundary communicates that you guard your frame, and frames are arousing because they imply structure and self-respect. The fifth trigger is command frame, leading statements that invite small compliance. You create momentum by suggesting the next tiny step as if it's already halfway done. You never ask for huge leaps, you seed micro yeses. Let's grab the quiet spot by the window. This music is murdering the vowels, and you start walking at a measured pace. Or, hold your hand out as you show your palm first, then touch the back of hers briefly to test the charge. Or, tilt your head for a second. There's something different about your left eye, and you lean in just enough to invade the air but not the skin. These micro leads do two things. They test willingness and they train a rhythm. If she doesn't comply, you don't force. You reframe, reduce the scope, or you step back and let the moment breathe. The masculine leads by offering a path, then respecting the response. The paradox is that honoring her no makes your yes far more valuable. Command frame also means decisions without consultation. You choose a table, you choose standing or sitting, you choose the tempo. Women relax into men who make small decisions cleanly. Relaxation opens the door to arousal because safety and excitement can coexist when someone else is piloting. The sixth trigger is calibrated touch anchors. Touch is not a scavenger hunt, it's a language. Each placement says something, and your sequence is the sentence. Start where touch is neutral and socially safe. The back of the hand in a handshake that lingers half a beat. The upper arm for a brief emphasis when you punctuate a joke. The shoulder when you guide her through a crowd, fingers open, palm light. Each touch is short, then shorter. You don't cling, you tag. You're anchoring a feeling to your skin. With me, moments get marked. The escalation is not linear, it's circular. You return to places you've touched before and see whether her body responds. Does she lean in? Does she retouch? Does she orient her knee toward you? When you do escalate, waist, small of the back, a playful tap just above the knee, you do it in sync with something shared. A laugh, a secret, a viewpoint you both landed on. Touch locks in meaning when it coincides with a we. If she freezes, you're too fast. If she retouches, you're invited. This is a dance, not a siege, and the music is her body language. The seventh trigger is the private world, building a pocket of reality only you and she share. Sexual tension loves privacy even in public, because privacy says, we're doing something slightly off limits and no one else knows. You can create this with a shared label, a callback, a pseudo-secret. If she mentions she's been breaking her espresso habit, you glance at her cup later and say, so this is your last rebellion before the detox police show up. Then every time she lifts the cup, you hold her eye for a beat like you're both in on a joke. You can also build a private world by relocating the conversation. 5 meters, new angle, different backdrop. You move her from the counter to a bar stool, from the loud area to the corner, from the inside to the patio. Different space, different rules, same person. Each move feels like a level unlocked. You want her to feel that your world has layers, and each layer she enters makes her more invested. This private world expands later into logistics. When you suggest a change of venue, you're not pitching a plan. You're inviting her deeper into something that already exists. Let's walk 10 minutes. There's a spot where the city drops away, and they pour the only espresso that respects itself. Low pressure, high certainty. If she's in, you're already leading. If she's unsure, you downshift and return to playful conversation without sulking. Nothing kills intensity faster than neediness disguised as irritation. The eighth trigger is vulnerable power, revealing a sliver of the man under the armor while holding your boundaries firm. Too many men either hide behind stoicism or spill their guts in search of approval. Both kill tension. You want to show that you feel, and you choose when to show it. Maybe you tell her, I used to over-explain myself because I thought clarity would save me from rejection. It didn't. It just made me forgettable. Now I say what I mean, and I live with the echo. That's not self-pity. It's self-awareness. Then, while that truth is still in the air, you enforce a boundary with a smile. By the way, if you're the type who ghosts and then resurrects, we won't get along. I don't recycle confusion. Vulnerable power brings warmth. Boundaries bring contour. Together, they create a shape her desire can grip. She can imagine where she'd fit and where she wouldn't. Ambiguity is seductive. Vagueness is not. When you're clear about your standards, how you handle time, honesty, intimacy, you give her something to respond to besides your face. The ninth trigger is the exit on a high, leaving when the energy peaks, not when it flatlines. Most men outstay the moment. They chase diminishing returns and then wonder why the spark fades by the end of the night. You don't hoard intensity, you bank it. When she's laughing, when the eye contact locks and neither of you blinks for a second longer than the social script allows, when she's just told you something she doesn't usually tell strangers, that's your cue. You look at her mouth for a beat, return to her eyes and say, I like your pace. Let's not burn it all now. Then you stand. If it's the end of an interaction, you exchange details with a decisive line, not a question. I'll text you on Tuesday after 6. We'll continue this reinvention debate where the espresso has a backbone. You set the frame, you set the time window, and you leave. The exit preserves the charge. It also tests whether she follows, whether she asks a small question to keep you, whether she touches your arm as you go. Information is leverage. You gather it without prying by watching what happens when you stop offering yourself as a constant. Now let's stitch these 9 triggers into a single coherent approach, because a man who understands sequence has leverage a man with scattered tactics never will. You enter with breath, slow, grounded. You make your first words low effort and high signal, an observation about the environment that reveals taste, not trivia. This lighting would make a saint look suspicious. She looks up. You hold eye contact with the triangle path just once, then you smile slightly, not as if you're proving friendliness, but like you're letting her borrow a private joke. As she replies, you place the pause. No rush, no defensive nodding. You follow with a challenge wrapped in warmth. You've got an opinion, use it. What would you fix in this place if you had the keys for one day? She gives a surface answer. You lean on the slow withdraw. Glance to the side, scan the room, return. That's decor. I mean rules. What rule do you break first? Now she's in a different part of herself. You offer command frame. Let's stand over there. The air is better by the window. And you move first, stopping half a step ahead so she can choose without pressure. As you settle, you tag a calibrated touch, back of her hand for emphasis, then gone. She continues. You drop a private world seed. We're the window committee now. That comes with responsibility. Every time you say we, you keep a note of play inside the seriousness. You slide vulnerable power into a line about standards. I like small places with big honesty. I'm allergic to performative anything. She nods, surprising herself. The energy climbs, you exit on a high. I like this. Keep Tuesday open. And you leave her with a smile that implies unfinished business. None of this is dramatic, all of it is intentional. Let's get more tactical. Women notice how you hold your phone. If it's a shield, you're broadcasting self-protection. If it's face down and away, you're broadcasting presence. Presence is the invisible cologne. It turns average lines into charged moments. You can't fake it because it lives in your nervous system. If your breath is trapped in your chest, release your lower belly on the inhale. Feel the back of your ribcage expand. Then speak on the exhale. Your voice drops half a note. Your words glide instead of stab. Hold your shoulders down and back without puffing your chest. Think wide, not tall. Predators puff, leaders expand. Look at her with your head slightly tilted. Interest without supplication. Nod once when she finishes a sentence that matters, not every 5 words like you're trying to keep a fragile vase from falling off a table. When you touch, think brush, not grab. When you tease, think mirror, not mockery. When you withdraw, do it like a tide, not a door slamming. Here's how you calibrate to different responses without losing polarity. If she's chatty, you become the minimal, precise counterweight. Ask layered questions that dig under the surface and reward her for depth, not length. If she's reserved, you become the warm spark. Offer a tiny, vulnerable truth about yourself that opens a door without flooding the room. I get bored with small talk fast. I'd rather be wrong about someone than stay shallow. Then wait. If she steps through, great. If not, you honor the mismatch and exit clean. That clarity makes you attractive to the right women because it signals self-trust. Tension without trust is chaos. Tension with trust is chemistry. You're building the second, another crucial layer. Your relationship with other people in the room. The way you greet a bartender, nod to a passerby, or hold a door for a stranger while continuing your sentence with her. That's social proof without peacocking. You show you belong anywhere because you belong to yourself first. Social dominance wrapped in courtesy is catnip. It says power, not performance. If she sees you being crisp with your time and soft with your edges, tipping well, thanking precisely, moving with intention, she feels what life near you would be like. Structured freedom. Remember, women aren't just comparing you to other men, they're comparing the world you create to the world they endure. Make yours cleaner, calmer, more honest, and just dangerous enough to be alive. You want phrases that carry weight. Keep a pocket full of lines that hold your frame without shouting. I don't rush, I just don't repeat myself. I like firsts. I ignore almosts. I don't convince, I invite. These are energy signatures, not scripts to memorize. Fit them into moments that earn them. If she flakes, your message isn't a tantrum. It's the simplest thing. No harm. My schedule is strict and my interest is real. If you want another window, propose it. If she tests you with a light jab, are you always like this? You smile. Like what? She says, so sure. You return. It's not certainty about me. It's certainty about my choices. If she asks if you're seeing anyone, you say, I meet who I meet. I don't do auditions. The goal is not to land a clever line, it's to reflect a coherent man. Let's talk escalation in time. Not every interaction is a same-night story, nor should it be. Your job is to build a corridor of increasing voltage across interactions. First meeting, 3 triggers maximum, then exit. Message after, 1 decisive lead, 1 softened challenge, 1 shared callback from your private world. Date 1, command frame on logistics, pause, triangulated eye contact, 2 touch anchors, 1 slow withdraw, exit on a high. Date 2, scale the private world, choose a venue that reflects your preferences. Let her see you in flow, whether that's ordering in a language you speak or navigating a city street like you built it. Take the lead in small transitions. Let's walk the long way. I want to see that building after dark. Add vulnerable power. Tell a story that shows your values under pressure. Enforce a boundary kindly, especially with time. End the night before comfort pushes it further. She'll feel the stretch and think about it later in the shower. You're playing a longer game than most men even know exists. Underneath all of this runs a principle. Tension thrives on contrast. You're warm and you're firm. You're attentive and you're autonomous. You invite and you withdraw. You reveal and you reserve. Women read contrast as depth. Depth is rare. Rarity creates value. Value triggers desire. And still, none of this works if you don't anchor it in self-respect. The man who respects himself doesn't negotiate his standards for a face. He lets his standards attract the right face. He's kind without being accommodating, generous without being exploited, intimate without being porous. He's not trying to be mysterious. He just doesn't hand out all his pages to someone who hasn't earned the book. You may be wondering how to start tomorrow. Don't try to juggle 9 triggers at once. Pick 2 and live inside them for a week. Start with the pause and the triangulated eye contact. Practice them with everyone, barista, co-worker, stranger, not as seduction but as presence training. Then layer the slow withdrawal and command frame. Watch how the world bends toward men who move like they mean it. Add calibrated touch only when you've proven to yourself that you can read signals. No entitlement, ever. Consent isn't a legal box, it's a living exchange. If she's in, you'll know. If she's unsure, you'll know. If she's out, you lead that boundary too. I like clear, let's keep it friendly. Nothing is lost by walking away cleanly. Everything is lost by leaving a smear. There will be men who hear this and try to turn it into manipulation. That's not what this is. Manipulation is about making someone do what they don't want to do. Seduction is about removing the static so what they already want can rise. The static is insecurity, performative behavior, frantic approval seeking. Remove those and what's left is polarity. Polarity is natural. You don't force it, you frame it. The more you build a life you'd want to invite someone into, the less you'll feel like you're asking for permission to be there. Your wardrobe doesn't need a rebrand if your posture is poor. Fix your spine and the shirt fits different. Your grooming doesn't need to be maximal. It needs to be intentional. Edge your beard, keep your nails clean, wear textures that feel good to the touch because touch is a promise you make with your fabric before your hands arrive. Everything communicates. Let your communication line up. So here's your practical blueprint. Before you leave the house, breathe deep and set 2 intentions. I lead lightly, I listen deeply. On arrival, map the room in 5 seconds, where you could move, where conversation would be intimate, where the light is kind, where the exits are. Open with a textured observation that reveals taste. Use the pause at least twice in the first minute. Run the eye-mind-mouth triangle once at a moment that earns it. Offer one playful challenge that frames her as powerful, but also accountable. Lead one small move, tag one touch anchor, seed a private world with a shared label or callback, reveal one sliver of truth that shows a scar you carry without bleeding, exit on a high. That's it. 9 triggers, integrated, humane. The first time will feel like juggling. The second time will feel like rhythm. The third time will feel like you. As we close, I want to leave you with a reframe that will change how you stand, speak, and decide. You are not trying to win her. You are inviting her to discover whether she is a match for the world you are building. That single shift removes panic from your voice and puts gravity in your presence. The world you're building has rules: honesty over optics, pace over pressure, scarcity over desperation, boundaries over ambiguity, invitation over persuasion. Live those rules and you won't need to convince anyone that you're worth their time. They'll feel it in the way you use your pauses, in the economy of your words, in the precise way you place your hand and then remove it. This is how men stop being performers and become composers. You don't play louder, you place your notes. If this opened something in you, if you felt your shoulders drop and your chest get quiet, carry that into your next interaction and watch what happens when you move through the world like this. I want to hear your wins and your friction points. Leave them where I can see them and I'll build the next lesson around them. If you want more of this kind of training, real, applicable, no fluff, make sure you're here for the next one because I won't slow down to catch you up. Share this with a man who needs to stop shouting and start leading. And when you walk out that door, remember, tension isn't noise, it's signal. You create it, You hold it, and when you decide, you release it. That's your job, that's your edge. Now go use it.